Welcome to Vanadium. I'm Chris Rankin. The more I learn about this mad world, the more mysterious it seems. When I started studying engineering, I discounted psychology and psychoanalysis. Like a lot of other foolish people in the physical sciences do, I dismissed it. I considered it, to put it nicely, hand-wavy and lacking the rigor of subjects like chemistry or physics. Other students in my class, and some professors even, openly mock psychology, calling it borderline nonsense, citing that so much of the research isn't even reproducible. Whenever I heard this come up, I would mention that chemistry and physics are not immune to scientific fraud, quackery, and just regular errors and misunderstandings. Reproducibility is an issue in all experimental science. I considered psychology interesting, maybe a soft science, but I didn't understand the kinds of insights about human behavior, personalities, and relationships that had already been developed in the field. One day, I received a wake-up call. I experienced something that made me realize there was something to the theories of people like Carl Jung. When I heard about the MBTI, or the Myers Briggs Type Indicator assessment, a written personality test that could predict my inner workings and future career, I sort of rolled my eyes. But, just to shut some people up, I took the test anyway. I had never even heard of Carl Jung. All I knew about psychology came from The Silence of the Lambs, and from Freud and his appearance in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I thought the test would be an obvious, boring probe, with predictable results from predictable questions. Chris, what does this ink blot look like to you? Do you feel sad? What's your favorite color? When I actually took the test, it seemed strange. The questions were unlike what I would have expected from a psych questionnaire. When I received the results, it made me reconsider everything I thought about psychology. The analysis described my personality and inner life. It predicted the good, the bad, and some of the creepy. The basis for the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator model is that all people's personalities fall into just 16 distinct categories. When it comes to people's inner workings, the human software, personalities, it's a lot like blood types. Am I not the unique snowflake I thought I was? The original versions of the MBTI were engineered by an American mother-daughter team working together, Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers. Catherine Briggs began her research into human personality in 1917. Her idea of classifying personalities into distinct types first came to her when she met her future son-in-law, interestingly enough. She observed marked differences between his personality and that of her daughter and the other family members. She started applying the developing model of classification on other people she knew. After a while, she noticed patterns. Briggs continued reading historical accounts and biographies. She eventually developed a model where she proposed 4 temperaments: meditative or thoughtful, spontaneous, executive, and social. At around this time, in 1923, the English translation of Carl Jung's book, Psychological Types, was published. Briggs recognized that Jung's theory was similar to, but also went far beyond her own. Her first publications were 2 articles describing Jung's theory, in the journal New Republic in 1926, with an article titled Meet Yourself Using the Personality Paint Box, and 1928's Up from Barbarism. After extensively studying the work of Jung, Briggs and her daughter extended their interest in human behavior into efforts to put the theory of psychological types to practical use. Briggs' daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers, joined her mother's research more officially and started to make contributions of her own. Isabel graduated from Swarthmore College in 1919. What's interesting is that neither she nor her mother, who were both college educated, ever took a class in psychology. Both considered themselves self-taught in the field through observation and their own psychometric evaluations of others. Briggs and Myers began creating their type indicator during World War II. They wanted a way to help women enter the industrial workforce using a knowledge of personality types and preferences. The goal was to identify the sort of wartime jobs that would be the most comfortable and effective for them. The Briggs-Myers Type Indicator Handbook was published in 1944. Here's a basic breakdown of the model. There are 16 types based on 4 dichotomous traits. The first trait, attitude, either extroversion or introversion. Myers-Briggs literature uses the terms extroversion and introversion the same way Carl Jung does. Extroversion means outward turning, and introversion inward turning. These specific definitions differ somewhat from the popular use of the words. It has nothing to do with how outgoing someone might be. The preference for extroversion and introversion are often called attitudes. Briggs and Myers recognized that various cognitive functions can operate either in the external world of behavior and action, hence the extroverted attitude, or the internal world of ideas and reflections, or the introverted attitude. The MBTI assessment sorts for an overall preference for one over the other. The second dichotomy, 2 different perceiving functions, either sensation or intuition. People who can lean towards sensing tend to pay more attention to reality, particularly to what they can learn from their own senses. They tend to focus on facts and details and really enjoy getting hands-on experience. The intuition types pay more attention to things like patterns and impressions. They enjoy thinking about possibilities, the future, and abstract theories. The third, 2 judging functions, either thinking or feeling. This focuses on how people make decisions based on the information gathered from their sensing and intuition functions. People in the thinking group place a greater emphasis on facts and objective data. Those in the feeling category are more likely to consider people and emotions when arriving at a decision or a conclusion. And the fourth dichotomy, 2 separate lifestyle preferences, either judgment or perception. The final scale involves how people tend to deal with the outside world. Those who lean toward judging prefer structure and firm decisions. People who lean toward perceiving are more open, flexible, and tend to be adaptable. My type, INTJ, means introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. On the good side, it means I have a tendency to be rational and stay informed, to remain curious and open to new ideas. But on the other side, arrogant, overly critical, sometimes combative. INTJ is often called the architect personality. I do feel like my inner life consists of a lot of shuffling, organizing, and evaluating of ideas. Sometimes I do admit, I wish it would stop. Some of the other Myers-Briggs types. ISFJ, the protector. There's the artist, the mediator, the thinker, the persuader, the performer, the caregiver, the debater, I think I know a few of these people, and the commander. Studies have shown correlations between some of the Myers-Briggs types and afflictions such as narcissistic personality disorder, schizotypal, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorders. Interestingly, my type, the INTJ type, seems to be overrepresented by narcissists. So speaking of personality disorders, let's move on to some examples of celebrity INTJs. I think this is very illuminating. Paul Krugman, he's a fellow INTJ and a famous influential economist. I think this man is best illustrated by his own words. Krugman once said on the record, "I have been right about everything." He went on, "People who disagree with me are always wrong. And not just wrong, they're often knaves or fools." Here's another INTJ economist, inventor and chief promoter of Keynesian economics, John Maynard Keynes. Keynes said once, "This country does not need an iron-cast economic doctrine as long as it has me." Keynes wasn't always wrong. He once described Sir Isaac Newton, reportedly another INTJ, saying, "Newton was not the first in the age of reason. He was the last of the magicians." I love that description of Newton. Although Isaac Newton was known for being quite difficult and perhaps certifiably insane. Another, contemporary INTJ, is not someone I would consider for the Vanadium Wall of Heroes. Mark Zuckerberg. He's not someone I would have thought I would ever agree with, but I came across a quote of his that makes me understand the man much more, and it makes me think maybe we have some ideas in common. Zuckerberg was asked about users once who were dissatisfied with Facebook's privacy options. Zuckerberg answered, "Having two identities for yourself is a lack of integrity." I think he might have something of a point there. Not entirely, but something of a point. Michelle Obama is reportedly an INTJ. Same with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hillary Clinton, Ashley Olsen, Dan Aykroyd, and Vladimir Putin. Sometimes the people in your life know you better than you know yourself. Actress Linda Hamilton was once asked about her ex-husband, fellow INTJ, and Terminator director James Cameron's personality. Linda Hamilton said, "James Cameron is definitely on the side of the machines." INTJs can be great strategists, but can have issues with authority and can be known to carry around a bit of an ego. One example, the famous chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer. A reporter once asked Fischer what he thought of the American public education system. Fischer answered, "You have to mix with all those stupid kids, and the teachers are even stupider than the kids." Fischer also said, "Nobody has single-handedly done more for the US image than me. Before I came along, the US had an image of a football country, baseball country, but nobody thought of it as an intellectual country. I turned all that around single-handedly." Healthy ego on Bobby Fischer. I don't know how they figured out that this guy was an INTJ. Jack the Ripper, English royal and unidentified serial killer. Here's some other INTJ baddies. Joseph Mengele, infamous Nazi doctor. H.H. Holmes, American prolific serial killer. Ted Kaczynski, American terrorist. Quite a gallery of nobles, me and my fellow INTJs. One legendary INTJ wasn't short on ego, but certainly delivered the goods and made up for any personality shortcomings in charming ways. Nikola Tesla said, "My ideas have revolutionized the industries of the United States." What sets Tesla apart here is that what he said is actually true. His ideas did revolutionize all US industry. Another INTJ, Charisma Carpenter, American actress from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Veronica Mars. This list of INTJs is putting me to shame. I'm definitely the dumbest member of this Myers-Briggs clan. What's really interesting is psychologists have figured out a way to assess fictional characters, somehow getting cartoon, TV, and movie characters to take the Myers-Briggs test. Here's a breakdown of some known fictional INTJs, both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Oh, this is interesting. Police analyst and serial killer turned lumberjack, Dexter, of the show Dexter. This next INTJ is certainly forever cemented in the Vanadium Wall of Heroes, Dr. Gregory House, the illustrious House MD. Another, one of my personal favorites, Professor Moriarty, arch enemy of Sherlock Holmes. It shouldn't be a surprise for the next INTJ to make the list. Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I always knew Belle and I would get along. And of course, the magic mirror from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. There's the well-known INTJ Jigsaw, who I would argue is the protagonist of the Saw series. Obviously, O-Ren Ishii from Kill Bill. Not many people know this one, that Scar, Simba's loving uncle from The Lion King, was an INTJ. I encourage those in the Vanadium audience who are curious to take an online Myers-Briggs assessment and read some of the available detailed analysis on the various types. Whether you buy into it or not, it's at the very least interesting and stimulating. However, I have a feeling this test can help you gain some insight and get to see yourself from a different perspective. Thank you very much. This was Chris Rankin with Vanadium.